Hello, friends, and welcome back. I'm Salim Asgarally,
Hi, I'm Veenaa Bakshi.
and we are going to be talking about good health and well being, a topic which is of concern to everyone today, especially in the times that we are living in. It becomes even more important. Veena, what do you really define good health and well being as actually?
A happy society. Your mind is happy, your soul is happy, your being is happy. And that's what makes a good society.
Exactly, and that's what makes people more efficient of their jobs, that
Absolutely.
makes a society more functional.
Salim, the thing is that the sad fact is that there has been an estimated 303,000, so that's 303,000 women who have died at childbirth since between 2007 and 2019, okay, globally, and these are largely in low and middle income countries. Now, that is something which doesn't speak very well of a society.
It's a whole chunk of people who are just not attended to, and a primary function like childbirth leads to death and mortality, which I think is not such a good thing. I think it's really, really bad. It speaks very badly of.
Yeah, because it's just the basics, that you have to look
True.
after a mother who's expecting. I mean, just the basics.
Yes,
The long
and
term.
in a country where the population is so huge, where there are childbirths happening almost every second,
No.
so every second there is a woman who's at risk of dying.
Yes.
And that could primarily be also because the woman during her pregnancy has not been looked after, even in terms of nutrition.
Right?
Yeah, in terms of the maternity care that she needs to be given.
Yes.
So where are we falling apart really?
Most families don't tend to look after. The last priority in the house is a woman. So
Right.
when you have somebody who's pregnant with a child, it's only after the whole family is eaten that she eats. So whatever is left over, to start with that. Second thing is what we're talking about is primary health centers,
Yes,
which is your first line of defense.
yes.
And in the rural areas, there's there's a very low incidence, low percentage of these primary health centers.
Yes.
So when a woman, when you're not getting that care, what you were saying is that nutrition, basic food, care, okay, lie down, you're tired, somebody else will look after your job, all these little things.
So, Veena, on one hand, you have women who die due to childbirth. There are also those women who survive it. I would say survive it, not flourish. And then what happens to the babies that are born out of mothers who really haven't been looked after very well in terms of their well-being? Obviously, in terms of nutrition, they would be lacking. So there could be all kinds of problems associated with those babies, including immunization, which is really, really very important for a child as he grows into adulthood.
Right.
So I think these are the kind of issues that have prevented us from really becoming a society which has flourished due to everyone being robust and in good health.
Another thing, Salim, is so strange, is a very strong belief in karma. Okay, so when immunization doesn't happen, and if a child dies, okay, as in infancy, it's actually accorded to karma, that it was a child's karma,
Yeah.
not to live.
Yeah.
So the next birth, that child will have a good birth, and whatever that child,
I think it's also due to a lack of education, awareness, and lack of literacy,
Yep, very high.
because of which I think the right kind of information doesn't reach them, or they are not able to assimilate that information correctly.
Exactly. Like for instance, immunization, vaccinations for children. There's some 12 or 13 vaccines by the time the child is 5.
Yeah.
A lot of times the vaccines are not, though they're free in government hospitals, they don't finish the whole course. Lots of times, Salim, the boy child is given the whole course, the girl child is not. So there are all these
And the
things
girl
happening.
child is very important, because then she goes on to becoming a mother,
Exactly.
and then you have the mortality rates
Yes.
for
Yes.
mothers, and then so on for the infants.
Yeah.
The other thing that I am noticing is when we are talking about something like good health and well-being, is health has become an industry today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pharmaceuticals have become a huge industry today. So it's more about making money on treating people who already have diseases rather than preventing those diseases so they don't need to go to those places and spend their dear money on keeping themselves well. So preventive care is very little in comparison to curable care. And in fact, I sometimes get this feeling that diseases are allowed to mushroom.
Totally.
Because it's at the end of the day a money-making industry. So if you fall ill, well and good, you're feeding somebody else's pocket.
And you know, the thing is that there are very simple prevention, as you
Yes.
rightly speak about. There is so many, I mean, prevention is so simple, you know, as compared to the final cure.
Yeah.
Because it's just a very easy thing. Okay, take care of this, take care of that, go for a long walk, look after your health. A simple thing like walking, the best exercise on this earth and the most natural exercise on this earth.
So, as we were discussing sometime before we started, talking about what we are talking right now, is the fact that there are communicable diseases and there are diseases which are not and are more lifestyle oriented.
Yes.
So, when you come to lifestyle oriented diseases, there are a whole lot of things which can be avoided.
There's heart disease, there's obesity, there's type 2 diabetes,
Right.
there's hypertension, which is stress.
Yeah.
And then another thing which is premature mortality. You know, we hear of people dying, I mean, at 40 and 30 and you know, things like that.
Yeah.
And that is largely because of stress and hypertension, because the
I
kind of
think
jobs that people are doing.
Stress and hypertension and all the other lifestyle diseases that you just spoke about, there is a leveler for all of that, and which is sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep is very, very important. Sleeping at a regular time and waking up at a regular time, I think, is one of the primary contributors to good health.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you're not doing that, then probably you are liable to everything else that can come out of a warped lifestyle. Because let's face it, all of us are leading a life which is very busy.
Yes.
And we really don't get the time. There are people who smoke, there are people who drink, there are people who party. It's not like you can throw everything out of your life.
True.
Right?
True.
But with sleep, you can get to level off these things.
Yes.
Fitness, of course, is a corollary to good sleep, and just maintaining your fitness, either going for a walk, going to the gym, etc., etc., etc.
46.6 million children in India are malnutritioned.
That's shocking.
It is terrible. It is terrible. In fact, we were talking about this.
So what happens to all these government programs where food is provided to children in primary schools? They're supposed to be given good nutrition, and that is one of the main reasons that they're attracted to come to school.
Yeah.
So what happens to that? So
We
are you
did-
trying to say that the nutrition given is not good enough?
No, we've been reading in the papers of late where they gave. There's one school in one of the states where the children are made to eat chapati with salt. Okay. In another school, 1 liter of milk was mixed with water and fed to 86 children.
That's shocking. But I mean, it's not surprising.
No, it's not surprising.
When onions are at 120 rupees a kilo,
I know.
who can really afford food then?
And to think that onions actually is a staple diet of many of the village folk, of the poor. Roti, mirchi and kanda.
Yeah, and there was a meme the other day that was floating around whether it's like, murga kanda mein dale ya kanda mein murga
I know,
dale.
I read that one.
So it's like as funny as that.
The flip side to this is urban children
Yeah.
who are suffering from type 2 diabetes, which is an adult diabetes, and obesity because of all the junk food that they are eating. And their parents are very happily nurturing them.
That's another big one. The junk food that goes around.
Yeah,
Which really is a contributor to ill health.
totally.
So I think we're going to wrap up this segment of our show, and hold on, there's more coming with Dr. Sunita Bannerji, who's going to give us a lot of information on what we have just spoken about, of course, from a more professional point of view. So don't go away, hang in there, and we are going to come back really soon from The Daily Eye Show.
The Daily Eye.
Hello friends, and welcome back to The Daily Eye Show, where we are talking about good health and well-being. And today we have with us none other than the expert, Dr. Sunita Bannerji, on good health and well-being. Hello, Doctor, and welcome to the Daily Eye Show.
Welcome to the Daily Eye Show.
Would you like to tell us, Doctor, what is it that you specialize in as far as good health and well-being is concerned?
Okay, so I've been a practicing physician for more than 35 years now, with an emphasis on functional medicine, anti-aging medicine, and aesthetic medicine.
So, Doctor, would you like to tell us what is functional medicine, aesthetic medicine, and this anti-aging thing, which sounds very exciting to our viewers?
Okay, so basically, functional medicine doctors don't treat diseases or as such, or symptoms as such. What they do is they prevent the onset of chronic inflammatory diseases from occurring. That means they preempt it and they prevent it from happening.
Okay. What is chronic inflammatory diseases?
Okay, so chronic inflammatory diseases are basically lifestyle diseases which can be prevented. And these include heart disease, for instance. They include obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, even cancer.
Okay.
So all these can be prevented.
So, when we talk about anti-inflammatory diseases, I believe it's the cells that get inflamed. Each cell gets inflamed, and then that leads to this entire inflammation syndrome, which leads to all these chronic diseases that we're talking about.
You're right.
Yes.
You're right. So basically, we need to prevent this. And how do we prevent this? By very simple ways. By just modifying your lifestyle.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So basically, if you eat the right kind of food, if you exercise enough, if you de-stress, I think I would put stress as number one, and then I'd begin with food and exercise. If you sleep adequately, right? These are ways, and if you supplement yourself with vitamins and antioxidants, all these help with preventing these chronic inflammatory diseases.
Easier said than done.
Okay, so of course they have to develop skills, okay? You have to learn things. Like I would say meditation is a very, very important thing to calm down, because stress affects every system in your body. There isn't a single organ that doesn't get affected by stress, including cancer. We know that today, okay? Studies have proven that. So you can meditate, you can do yoga and get your stress. There are lots of other techniques like mindfulness, etc., which help you de-stress. Basically living in the now, that can be understood and practiced. So apart from this, as I said, food is very important, right? And supplementation is very important. These are the ways in which you can.
Doctor, another thing I have noticed, especially for our younger audiences out there, is I see one problem that everyone is afflicted with today, which is sleep deprivation.
Okay, so sleep is very important for us because when we sleep, there are two very important hormones that get secreted. One is melatonin and one is growth hormone.
Okay.
Extremely important hormones to help repair the body. You see, our bodies are like a machine. They're like a machine, right? And with age, that is with wear and tear, obviously there's going to be a breakdown. So you need to give it rest. You need to repair it. And sleep repairs it every day. So if you don't sleep adequately, that's about 8 hours a day, and if you don't sleep at the right time, because night time is when the hormones get secreted. So ideally, you should sleep well before 11 o'clock. Now, I know it's tough in a city like Mumbai, where people work till very late.
Right.
But that's why they're going on into each day a little broken. So sleep is very necessary in order for our bodies to be able to heal and to be in perfect health.
Precisely. So we live in a world today where we are bombarded with radiation of all kinds, from our Wi-Fi's, from our phones, from cell towers and everything else. And I was reading that melatonin that you mentioned does get affected by this kind of radiation. So is it somewhere responsible for bad sleeping patterns? So what is it that you should do? Put off all your Wi-Fi equipment before you go to bed?
You should. Ideally, you should remove all the Wi-Fi from your room itself. Okay? So that's very important because we know that these signals later on can even lead to diseases like cancer.
Correct.
Yes, there are lots of studies now being done, currently underway, which ultimately will conclude in this. I'm quite sure about that. Right? So you were talking about all these pollutions. Right from the minute we wake up in the morning, to the minute we sleep, we are bombarded with this pollution.
So I'd like you to take us through what are lifestyle diseases, can they be prevented, and what's the best method?
All right, so I have to explain a little bit to you. As in the olden days, we didn't require supplementations because a lot of patients come to me and ask me, should I be taking these multivitamins? Am I not overdosing on them? You know, how much should I be taking? And today, what's happening is there's a lot of confusion. There's too much information out there and everybody's confused, right? So my take on this is that supplementation today is very necessary. Vitamin supplementation, antioxidants, because we are subjected to so much pollution, as we just spoke, right? So in the morning, right from when we wake up to night, air is polluted with cadmium, lead, mercury, right? Plus all the carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide from all the cars, you know, the carbon emissions, etc. Everybody's been talking about climate change, etc. So all this obviously takes a toll. Then the water is contaminated. Water has a lot of heavy metals in it, okay, which disrupt our enzymes in our body, and so our body can't function properly, right? And then the food we eat, of course, we all know, insecticides, pesticides, fungicides, what have you. Just to get a chili on your table, at least 5 to 6 different types of pesticides are used. So you can imagine what's happening to our body. So naturally, the body produces something called antioxidants to overcome these harmful substances. But when we're bombarded with so much of it, the body cannot adequately produce these antioxidants. So today, more than ever before, we need to supplement with all these vitamins and antioxidants.
Yes.
Right? Hippocrates, about in 400 BC, said that let thy food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. Okay, so I would say supplement it from your food basically. Eat the right kind of food. But as I mentioned to you, today the food is so contaminated.
Absolutely.
Right? You produce it somewhere, you transport it to some other country, right? All its nutritive value is gone. Because the most important thing is when the fruit is ripening or vegetable is ripening, that's when the nutrients get into the vegetable or the fruit. That's the most important part. But you pluck it much before time and then you transport it to other countries. So not only has it lost its nutritive value, but the transportation and the storage, chemical storage, cold storage, etc., causes it to not be 100% safe for consumption. So then, if food cannot be our main source of our vitamins, then we have to take these multivitamins.
Right. And what do you have to say, doctor, about all these gluten-free diets and everything that is? Why has gluten become such an important thing today where so many people seem to be allergic to it?
Okay, actually only 1% of the population is allergic to gluten.
Okay.
But what people don't know is that it's not the gluten that is dangerous. It's because of a process called hybridization, which is what is occurring with wheat. So the chromosomal structure was something else in the olden days. Wheat was fabulous, but today they have changed the chromosomal structure to such an extent that it's become inflammatory, and that inflammation causes inflammation within our gut. Imagine if you have constant inflammation in your gut, your lining gets hardened, you have other symptoms, and you can't absorb your food because the lining has become, so you don't absorb anything after that.
So the damage then happens at a cellular level in your body.
It does. And there are a lot of things which kill your microbiota also. These organisms which live within us, we have about 2.5 to 3 kgs of them living. You know, we got to be friendly with them. We've got to feed them what they like to eat, not what we like to eat. And that's how we'll remain healthy. Okay, because people don't focus on these things. You know, we have so many choices of food today that it's also difficult, but one has to know these things to be able to help them be healthy.
The other thing that comes to my mind, doctor, is, we are living the day of Insta and TikTok and social media and optics, where everyone wants to look their best. Yeah, young kids out there, everyone goes to the gym, they want to be fit, but then there are dangers of working too much on that end as well. So what would you really recommend as fitness for young people out there? Is it just going to the gym?
There's much more. As you said, we all like to look good, right? And that's why I'm into aesthetic medicine too.
Yes.
I tweak you a little, put a little filler here, not too much, just a little, make you feel good, make your skin shine, because we all want to look good, right? As far as exercise is concerned, yes, everybody wants their six-pack abs, etc., right? But they don't realize that they're actually harming themselves, a lot of them, right? Because they over-exercise.
Exactly.
Now, if you over-exercise, the body goes into something called oxidative stress. So instead of being beneficial, it's going to be harmful for you. It uses up all your nutrients and you get depleted. They don't understand this. So there's a certain amount that you should exercise. You should have a variation of exercise. High intensity interval training exercise is good. And you can combine it with yoga and with stretches. So, you should have a combination of exercises and not overdo it at all.
So is looking good all about just looking good, or is it really about being fit? So what is it and how do you take them through this?
Okay, so if you are healthy on the inside, it'll show on your face. Okay, so I focus on the inside first.
Yes.
Okay, and get them into optimal health. I say optimal health because I want them to be healthy in that way. Then their skin glows automatically. I don't have to do much. Okay, but because we age and gravity pulls everything down southwards, right? So I give them to feel good. I give them a little lift with various techniques. So they feel good about it, because if you feel good, if you look good, then you feel good. But the most important thing is to be healthy inside, and that's where my focus is. But there are a lot of young people who come to me wanting to do all kinds of procedures, which I turn them away straight away, because now it's become, some of them can get addicted to it. I have a lot of patients who have addictions to wanting to do surgeries. I have a plastic surgeon attached to me, and they want to change their nose, and they want to change everything about them.
Right.
And from one to the other, and it just goes on. So I'm totally against it. This is not what actually makes you look good. A healthy skin and good eating habits is what's going to go a very long way.
Yeah, doctor, wanted to know this. One thing is anxiety.
Let me explain this to you. So in the olden days, when man was living out in the jungle, he would see an animal and he would get anxious for a minute, right? And his hormones would get secreted, like cortisol, adrenaline. These are the hormones that get secreted. And there'd be a surge of them, which would cause his heart to beat faster, his respiration to become better so that he'd get more oxygenation, all the blood would go to the muscles, he could run faster. And so this is how the body coped with it. And once the danger passed, everything would come down to normal. But today, this is not what is happening, right? You go to work, for instance, and you don't like your boss's face. And every day you're seeing that same boss, right? So what happens to you? You get anxious, right? You get angry. So all these cause these hormones to be secreted. But then there's no danger going down. They are constantly being secreted.
Okay.
So the whole day and every day you're exposed to these hormones, right? So these hormones obviously have effects which are not so good on the body. For example, you can develop heart disease because of it, palpitations because of it. You can develop dizziness, depression,
Diabetes.
Yes, stress is related to, and anxiety is related to everything, including cancer, as I said also, and diabetes. So apart from these things, your immune system gets wrecked, right? Your digestive system, you develop things like conditions like irritable bowel syndrome. Lots of people have irritable bowel syndrome. They keep coming to me with complaints of that. So that's all related to the mind. There's a very intricate connection between the mind and the gut. So we have to understand that, and we have to, take that into consideration. And so all these little things keep happening constantly. So obviously the body is being battered.
Right.
So I would say treat stress number one. Do anything that's in your thing. Learn to meditate. It doesn't take long. Do yoga, right? Just calm down. Look at life differently.
Yeah.
Okay? These things will help your body.
That's really wonderful. And I think that strikes a lot of hope for people out there, young people and old, as to how they can get themselves fit, healthy, glowing and lovely.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bannerji, for being on the show today. It was wonderful to hear all these absolutely superb things and such an insightful conversation.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you so much for watching this segment of Good Health and Wellbeing from us at the Daily Eye Show.
The Daily Eye. Wasn't that an amazing conversation we just had with Dr. Sunita Bannerji?
Absolutely. I mean, so much of information, so insightful.
It was an eye-opener.
It was an eye-opener.
But coming back to where we come from, which is fashion, media and entertainment, let's see what good health and well-being means for us.
You know, even in terms of when you look at the industry, the film industry, the TV industry, the bad lifestyle choices that are made, people are shooting for like 48 hours at a stretch. There are hardly any, proper breaks are not taken in terms of for nourishment. One of the things that we've been talking from the beginning of this show is sleep deprivation.
Yes.
The smoking, alcohol, drug abuse, all these things, because you're trying to push your body beyond limits, and one really wonders, as to, and yes, at the same time they go to gyms and they, I'm working out and things. And there are also these huge stories on how a certain actor works out of the gym at 2 in the morning. And I'm like, really? I mean, that's the time when naturally your body slows down and you have to be sleeping.
Which is very important.
So I'm a little puzzled about...
I think what you say is very relevant, and that even in fashion, when you look at it, not so much about food wastage as you just said, but yes, ours which are not very regular, be it our karigars, or be it us, or the other people that we work along with, like the models and the photographers and everyone else associated with the industry. Yes, we do put in long hours. Yes, we do sometimes work through the night. And that's really, there needs to be some kind of regulation on working hours across the board, which somehow in this country is not very well regulated, of course, because you don't even have contracts in place. Models even come without contracts.
Right.
So you can there are people who make them work for much longer hours than they are supposed to be working. As far as food is concerned, so what's the easiest thing to provide? Is let's order biryani, which is oily, which is just not right. Why can't we all start focusing and looking at things in terms of our health and dishing out food that is nutritionally correct?
Yep.
And conducive to working well?
Absolutely.
So you don't need to have these heavy, oily meals. You rather have, things which are lighter, more organic, and more nourishing.
Yeah.
So another thing that the fashion industry has woken up to is anorexia, which had become a huge issue with, especially starting from the Twiggy days, when a size 0 and lower was considered to be wow. But people have realized that it has led to serious issues with very young people trying to become size 0 and in the bargain developing anorexia.
Yep.
And becoming very, very sick and unhealthy. So we don't recommend that any longer. We want to show models and those who inspire and influence us as healthy and fit people. Mm-hmm. So that change, I think, has come around in the fashion industry, and I think it's very important to continuously endorse that being beautiful is about looking healthy and being healthy, not just having a particular waist size.
But the waist size thing in the size 0, even the entertainment industry at some point did set a bad example.
Right.
Where the actresses were fighting for size 0,
yeah.
And then I think they realized that people copy. The film industry does, entertainment and media does set examples.
Yes.
Good as well as bad.
Yes.
To a large extent, I mean, films like Toilet Ek Prem Katha
yes.
and Padman and all did send out these signals to people saying, there is a way there's a different way of looking at menstruation, or there's a different way of looking at cleanliness.
Yes.
So it did send out these signals. On the other side, they also send out these signals of washing hands and things, ad films.
Correct.
Wash your hands, keep your hands clean, and then you have public service films and things. So yes, they do send out these signals. But also there are these signals sent out that, those clothes look better on her. So maybe if I was thinner, which then we come back to this thing of bulimia and anorexia, you know,
Yes.
and of girls
Yes.
not eating and doing all kinds of.
Why? It's not just girls, even the boys.
Even the boys.
Yes, even the boys.
Even the boys.
Yeah.
So I think the fashion industry, the film industry, has to a large extent, all you know, from time to time, given good signals towards and sent good messages.
Yeah, the messaging is the most important part of it. I
Yeah,
think.
one of the things, of course, which I would say is a huge positive as far as the entertainment industry is concerned, is a number of male actors, female actors in the industry work out.
Yes.
Okay, so they gym, they're doing yoga, they're doing all these things. So that is one message I would definitely say is very, very positive. You know, Salim, a while ago, NDTV especially, I mean, if I can name them, played a lot of time and spent a lot of time on huge malnourishment and malnutrition cases in Maharashtra, in Melghat and Jawar and these areas, which are like 60 and 70 kilometers from Bombay. And I must say they did a stellar job on that because it actually changed policies within the Maharashtra government.
All right.
You know, however, I wish that there was a little more focus given towards things like health and well-being and a little more conversation. You know, this used to happen earlier rather than just everything being focused on headlines and political news and stuff. There are people who do talk about this. There are reporters who talk about, you know, who journalists who write about such things, who go into figuring out where it is. Because at the end of the day, your children today are your future tomorrow.
Correct. And both, not both, all three, media, entertainment and fashion, being such strong influencers, it's very important that the messaging that we send out is like correct and stimulates people, inspires people to do the right thing in terms of their health and their well-being.
You know, one of the aspects is in terms of fashion, entertainment across the board, which come in, which is not really looked upon very often, is footwear.
Well, you can blame us designers for that because
I know.
at times,
I'm trying to be polite and not say
yes,
this.
at times it does happen where you tend to put your models into very painful footwear just for aesthetic reasons, and that's not such a great thing. So yes, we have become aware of that and we are trying to change that and making comfort of prime importance rather than just aesthetics. So that's something that is changing. We have come to that realization amongst many other realizations as far as good health and well-being is concerned. You know, even of your models, we definitely don't want to be body shaming. So the minute you start body shaming, then you are leading people onto a different track of good health and well-being,
Right.
which we are desisting from now. So we have, like whenever I do fashion shows, I rather have, you know, people who come straight from real life rather than models like yourself, which once you walked for one of my shows, remember, as my showstopper. And we want more people coming out there who are real people, and so that people can realize that fashion and looking good is not just about the so-called technically beautiful people. It's everyone is beautiful.
Absolutely.
It's just how beautiful you can make them feel and how beautiful they are because they are looking after their health and well-being.
On that note,
We come to an end of our episode on good health and well-being, and I do hope you guys enjoyed it and get back to us with your comments and feedback.
write in the comments below. I hope you watch every episode. And goodbye from us at The Daily Eye Show.
The Daily Eye Show.